We're getting some breaking news in the investigation into the disappearance of Nancy Guthrie.
Puzzling new developments tonight in the ongoing search for Nancy Guthrie.
"38 minutes. Not an hour. Not half a night. 38 minutes is all it took for someone to walk into a secured home in the Catalina Foothills and walk back out with an 84-year-old woman. And after 87 days, the people paid to solve this cannot tell you who did it, how they did it, or where Nancy Guthrie is right now. But the data can. The evening of January 31st started clean. Security logs on the Guthrie property showed 0 anomalies through the early hours. The smart home system was functioning. Every sensor was active. At 9:50 p.m., a vehicle pulled away from the driveway. A routine departure. By all appearances, the house was settling in for the night. Then, at 1:39 in the morning, something moved near the rear of the property. Floodlights activated. 12 seconds of light. Then the power feeding that junction box was manually cut from outside the structure. That was not a circuit fault. That was a decision. And that decision kicked off what investigators have privately referred to as the operational window. A 38-minute stretch where the digital nervous system of that home went completely dark. Here's what makes it more disturbing. The Wi-Fi inside the property was hit with a jamming pulse during those same minutes. Not a broadband disruption. A targeted one, aimed specifically at the 2.4 GHz band, the exact frequency range the exterior cameras operated on. Interior devices stayed online. The smart hub kept logging. But the eyes on the outside of that home went silent, one by one, in precise sequence. You do not learn that from a YouTube tutorial. You learn that from reconnaissance. And the reconnaissance clearly worked because at 1:41 a.m., before a single door had been touched, Nancy Guthrie's Apple Watch recorded a jump from 64 beats per minute to 102. She was awake. Whatever she was seeing on those security monitors, her body was already responding to it. 6 minutes later, the last working camera, the doorbell unit at the front of the house, picked up a figure on the porch. Masked. Motionless. Standing directly in front of the lens for 42 seconds. Not hiding from it. Facing it. Like someone waiting for a specific confirmation before stepping forward. At 1:47 and 12 seconds, the feed cut to static. And when investigators later examined the mount on the wall, the camera had not been smashed. It had been removed. Unscrewed. And the local storage drive inside it was gone. Whoever stood on that porch knew the footage was saved locally, not to the cloud. That detail is not on the product listing. You have to know the house to know that. The front door, according to forensic analysis, showed no signs of forced entry. No pry marks. No shim damage. The perimeter sensors never triggered because the door was opened correctly, either with a physical copy of the key or a cloned digital credential. And once inside, the suspect walked past a safe containing over $60,000 in cash and valuables without touching it. Left it completely alone. He was not there for anything in that house except the woman who lived in it. Her walker was found overturned in the foyer. Her glasses were still on the side table. She was moved fast, without her navigation aids, through a house she knew and he had studied. Then comes the detail that does not fit. There was blood on the porch. A specific impact pattern, not a smear, not a transfer, but spatter consistent with force. Forensic analysts identified what is called expirated blood, the kind that mixes with air from the lungs, which suggests a blow to the chest or a hard fall during the struggle. Nancy Guthrie did not go quietly. But here is the problem. The distance from that porch to the final recorded signal from her pacemaker is 300 yards of desert terrain. Cactus, rock, uneven ground, total darkness. Search teams swept that corridor and found 0 biological trace between the house and the wash. Not a single drop. Which means she was not dragged. She was carried. Someone moved an adult woman with limited mobility through 300 yards of rough Arizona desert in the dark without leaving a trail. That is not panic. That is preparation. At 2:28 a.m., her pacemaker transmitted its last recorded signal. It did not come from a moving vehicle. It came from the edge of the property, near the desert wash. And then it stopped. The ransom came 65 days later. Half a Bitcoin. Roughly $35,000 at the time, an almost deliberately low number for a family with the Guthrie resources. But the emails were precise in a way that a random criminal could not fake. They referenced her medication schedule. They named her specific cardiac condition. The author of those messages had either been inside that home or had access to someone who had. The FBI's blockchain analysts traced the associated wallet and found it had been dormant for 3 years before suddenly activating 48 hours after the disappearance. They have been watching it since. The coins have not moved. Not once. No cash-out attempt, no mix-or-hop, no transfer. Just sitting there. A demand with no follow-through. Which raises the question that no financial kidnapping logic can answer. Why ask for money and then never try to collect it? One theory gaining weight among retired investigators is that the ransom was structural noise. A layer of misdirection designed to send the FBI down a financial trail while the actual objective was already completed. Because embedded in the original communications, before a copycat scammer named Derek Kalla muddied the waters with fake demands, was something a profit-motivated kidnapper would never include. Proof that the author understood the victim's daily medical reality. Proof of proximity. Proof of planning that stretches back further than January 31st. The DNA recovered from the porch tells the same frustrating story. The blood sample is a mixture containing Nancy Guthrie's profile and at least 2 additional contributors. The suspect's fraction is what forensic geneticists call a low template contribution, roughly 10% of a complete profile. It is not enough to generate a match in any national registry.
The FBI is currently running deconvolution software to try to isolate that fragment, and forensic genetic genealogy teams are building family trees from partial markers, hoping to find a name attached to a build that matches a masked figure who stood 5'9" to 5'10" and moved like someone who trained for physical resistance. Every piece of biological evidence, in this case, carries contamination. The glove found 2 miles from the property, the porch sample, both mixed, both insufficient on their own. Whether that is coincidence or counterforensics, investigators have not said publicly. But someone familiar with how DNA evidence works would know exactly how to neutralize it before arriving. 87 days in, the search grid covers 12 square miles. Cadaver dogs, aerial assets, ground teams through washes, and abandoned mine shafts along the corridor toward the border. Nothing recovered. No remains. No secondary scene. Just silence from the desert and a pacemaker that stopped transmitting before sunrise on February 1st. There are 4 threads the investigation has not exhausted. The cryptocurrency wallet is still being monitored in real time. A single transaction toward any centralized exchange ends the anonymity. The pacemaker itself, still implanted, is still theoretically capable of emitting a short-range Bluetooth signal. Investigators are running specialized detection equipment in targeted search areas. The DNA deconvolution work continues with updated software. And the oldest tool in the investigation remains the most promising, a human being who saw something and has not yet decided to say so. A white sedan was observed idling near the property line 24 hours before the abduction. It did not belong to any neighbor. It was not a delivery. Someone was watching that house the night before and measuring it. If you were near the Catalina Foothills between January 1st and February 2nd, if something felt wrong, if a vehicle or a face was out of place, that memory is worth $1 million and total anonymity. The tip line is 1-800-CALL-FBI. Online submissions go through FBI.gov. Nancy Guthrie has been someone's mother, someone's grandmother, for 84 years. The front door of her home still carries the evidence of the night she was taken. The desert beyond her property line holds a silence the investigation has not yet broken. But digital trails degrade. Human memory fades. The window where a single piece of information breaks this open is still open. It just will not stay that way forever.